Hello, YouTube. The deranged clown here. You'll note the hair. I do need to get a haircut, though. Just not quite yet, apparently. I just want to do a quick little video about what's going on and really what's been driving a lot of this conflict. I've been giving this a lot of thought, and this is what I think. This is what I think it boils down to: where people live. Let's just take a look at where the people in the psych ward live. It's a slum, all right? It's a very old building, fascinating history. I'm a history nut, so I think history is really fun, really cool to dive into. And when I lived in the psych ward, that's one of the cool things about it is I was, thinking, I'm living in a building that's so old, it's over a century old, that the records are incomplete as to when they started building it. And I just always thought that was really neat. And I do intend to write a book about it. So I think that would be a lot of fun. But it's also a slum. And it's where the psychopaths, the losers, the jailbirds, the druggies, people who can't get along with others, that's where they wind up. Now, that's about a third of the people. And that's the people who become permanent residents who integrate into there, if you will. The other 2/3 or so are either students. They come down here to Ephraim. There's no one that can rent them out a place because the places are full or whatnot. They need a place until they can move on to student housing, say on campus, or some nice off-campus housing. Well, go to the psych ward. They go there, it's two-month rent, and they do that. Then something opens up, they're gone. Then there's people like me who came down there, here, and I just needed to get my financial feet under me, and I needed a place to live while working on getting a good job. And I've done that. I've moved on. It's month to month. That's the beautiful thing about it. But the people who are truly institutionalized, and that's the best word I can think of, into that place, they're there for a reason. Drugs, domestic violence, jail, mental illness, all that. Now, I understand that from a real estate point of view, if you have a slum in Ephraim, you got to have people to live there, right? Because the bank still wants money for their loan. You still got to pay taxes, utilities, etc., etc., etc. And so what they're doing is they're kind of doing a balancing act. They're sort of like the Second Chances Hotel, if you will. That way they have people who will stick around, and hopefully there's enough people who are going to pass through, such as myself, just place to live to get until I can find something better. Students waiting to get something better, whatnot. And somehow they can probably turn a profit. Now, what happens if that gets out? What happens if it becomes known that that place is where the screwed up kids go? I lived in that place for a little over a year, about a year and a half. There were kids in there for drugs. I was offered drugs. No lie. I told them to get out and leave me the heck alone. Um, Chucklehead. Well, let's just say that he's not exactly innocent. I'm going to leave it at that when it comes to that sort of behavior. I think if you know him, you would know what I'm talking about. Let's look at Sneaky J. Sneaky J. I went through the first layer of protection to the second layer of protection. His real name is still protected. Sneaky J. From what I understand, he is a religious authority in the dominant church, and he gets a lot of prestige from that. Economically, though, and before I tell you this, let me tell you that I lived right next to him on the first floor of the psych ward. His room was right next to mine. We were in a very small apartment complex, same floor, room beside each other. We knew everything about each other. All right, there's no way you could not know that sort of thing. He does not have a regular job. He's a little bit older than me. And while I'm sitting here thinking, I'm nearing retirement, I'm not that close, but it's going to be before long, I'm going to be 65, 70 years old, and I need to get something going to have a retirement. Sneaky J, who's a little bit older than me, I kid you not, and this is important, he is a freelance photographer, and he resells. Basically, he goes to Walmart, buys stuff, and tries to sell it online. If he can't sell it, he returns it. Now, Sneaky J is the main instigator of everything. He's the one who's been leading this smear campaign against me. And I think the reason, aside from hatred, is fear. If that place gets shut down, what landlord would rent to him? I mean, presumably he has no criminal record, good character, jolly good, right? Well, can he pay the rent? Well, gee willikers, I as a freelance photographer and reseller. Oh, so you don't have a regular job? No. Oh, why would I rent to you? And that's the dialogue that would happen. And I think that is what scares him. And I think that's what's animating a lot of the smear campaign against me. It's because I'm still here. They wanted to chase me out of town a couple of years ago, but I'm still here. And I'm still talking. That's what drives the behavior. I'll say this much. There's always a for rent sign in front of the psych ward. There was one point where they did manage to fill every room. And then Chucklehead proceeded to attack me. And Dan, rather than the landlord, rather than addressing the matter, condoned the violence. And when I asked Chucklehead head on, because I was in the lobby, I'll say this much, I was in the lobby, Dan was screaming at me. And Chucklehead came sauntering out of one of the back rooms, the back room where the pool table is. And I turned to him and I said, "What's your name?" And Chucklehead stopped, looked at Dan, And then he turned to me, Chucklehead did, and said, I don't have to tell you my name. Chucklehead at the time when Dan was screaming at me, was living next to me on the second floor. The violence got so bad, I had to start carrying pepper spray. And it terrifies me to even say this now. It was to the point where I almost had to use pepper spray to defend myself. That's the time when the owner stepped in and said, hey, maybe it's time that you found somewhere else. Now, I had already been talking about that, but I just never got around to it. But that's when the owner said, you know what, maybe. So I got into where I am now. I'm going to say this right now. I have never seen a for rent sign in the front yard. My neighbors are stable. There was one neighbor next to me. He moved. Within a few days, the place was filled. There's a waiting list, I'm sure, of people that want to live where I live. I did better. I moved on. And I want to address this as an open letter to everyone, or as a direct plea to Sneaky J or Chucklehead or anyone who may be watching this. All right. Or anyone like them who may have a hand in what they're doing. Let's let it go. It is not worth it. All right? Let's end it. Walk away. I have never had any desire to get back or get revenge or be a hero who's going to go out and right the wrong from this horrible person. No, that's been you. Me, I want to be left alone. And I am more than willing to let bygones be bygones. Let's end this. Because you know who suffers? The people of San Pete. Recently, I was speaking to a person, I'm not going to name names, and they said, I'm tired of this. And I said, I agree. So the next time you go after me, Chucklehead or Sneaky J or any of your followers, I want you to think about that. How do you affect your neighbor? How do you affect others? Give that a good think. Have a good day.